Hello everyone, welcome in to Matt Sports Talk, and I know that I shared before that I typically don't do any sort of Crossroads League volleyball videos, but I wanted to, pardon me, to record this one because there were a couple of really exciting games last night, and one in particular, well actually two in particular that I wanted to talk about. And so it was a really good night for volleyball last night. It's been such a great year and very competitive. And I think that this is the most competitive year in Crossroads League volleyball that it's ever been, at least in the years that I've been following it. And I'm still going to be doing my Crossroads League women's and men's basketball game recaps and talking about through the regular season, starting with conference play and toward the end of November and going all the way through the national NAIA national tournament in March. Still going to be doing that. Still going to be printing out a bracket, filling that out, showing it to you, so you can see my picks once we get to the national tournament. And I'll be doing recaps after every single round of the national tournament, giving you an updated view of my bracket, and also doing previews of a national tournament based on the RPI and the ARC rankings, with talking about which teams will be in, which teams might be on the bubble, that sort of thing. So obviously I'm still going to be doing all of that, but I wanted to record, like I said a minute ago, record this video and talk about a couple of volleyball games that happened last night that were really exciting. And of course, we did have one upset last night, and I wanted to talk briefly about that. And that was up in Spring Arbor. The Bethel University Pilots upset number 23 Spring Arbor 3-1. The scores were, in the first set, Spring Arbor 29-27, 25-18 for Bethel in the second set, 25-22 Bethel in the third, and 26-24 Bethel in the fourth. And both teams did not hit all that well. In fact, looking at the hitting percentage and looking in each set, in the first set, Bethel hit 0.091, Spring Arbor 0.182. The second set, Bethel 0.163, Spring Arbor negative 0.026, and the third set, Bethel 0.163 hitting percentage, Spring Arbor in that third set hit 0.102, and then in the fourth set 0.191 for Bethel and 0.100 for Spring Arbor. And looking at least a couple of stats, Bethel had 3 players in double figures with kills, Liberty Pearson with 13, and Bethel's best player, she's been absolutely amazing all year long, and that is Ainsley Tack, 15 kills for her, and then Taylor Delp with 13 kills last night as well. Jess Hand, 23 digs, 21 digs for Paige Franz, or Franz, depending on, I'm not sure exactly how her last name is pronounced, and then Haley Beidenbach with 23 digs as well. And then for Spring Arbor, 10 kills for Isabel Kirkendall, and really Spring Arbor's best player, it has been Spring Arbor's best player for the last couple of seasons, Kendall Ballenbacher, 15 kills, 18 digs for her, 15 digs for Cami Wedge, 10 digs for Giovanna Lo Cicero, 24 digs for Palmer Fortress. In fact, for Palmer, her sister played for Spring Arbor the last few years under head coach Betsy Martinez, so obviously great to see, a family member of one of the best players for Spring Arbor. Great to see a family member carry on that tradition and attend Spring Arbor and get a chance to play on the volleyball team. So that was one game I wanted to talk about for last night, and this game I want to talk about in particular. And that was a very highly anticipated great top 25 matchup last night between number 7 Indiana Wesleyan and number 21 Marion. And for the Wildcats, this was a 5-set thriller, and the Wildcats were able to avoid the upset and win 3-2 over the Lady Knights. And for contrast, this was the first time since 2022 that these two teams have played to 5 sets, and the first home win for the Wildcats in 5 sets against the Knights since 2019. So really, really amazing statistics there. First home win for the Lady Wildcats in a 5-set game against the Knights in 6 years, and the first time in 3 years that these two teams have played to 5 sets, I should say. And looking at the hitting percentage for both teams, and the hitting percentage definitely tells the story. Marian won the first set 25-19. Now in the first set, Marian hit .250. Iwu, on the other hand, hit just .093, so that obviously tells the difference there. And in particular, in the first set, the Wildcats had 11 errors compared to only 2 for the Lady Knights. So obviously that pretty much tells the story. In the second set, Marian hit just .077 with 9 errors. The Wildcats .122 with 8 errors. And that was in the second set. So really both teams played pretty even in that second set. Marian, of course, taking the first set 25-19. In the second set, Iwu took it 26-24. So obviously the hitting percentage was pretty near even in the second set. And I know, and I apologize if the video appears a little bit tilted, and that's because I have my iPhone sitting on top of one of my pillows. And of course, I have part of my iPhone up against one of my drums, which is a drum set that I have, and of course I'm obviously reading all of this off my iPad. So again, I apologize if the video feed appears a little bit tilted, crooked, and that's the reason why. So again, I apologize for that. So going back to the game from last night, in the third set, Marian hit just hit .114, and the Wildcats hit .263 in the third set, going on to a 25-17 win in favor of the Wildcats. Now in the fourth set, Marian found their rhythm. Now going back to the third set, Marian had 7 errors compared to just 3 for the Wildcats. In the fourth set, pretty even, 5 errors for the Wildcats, just 2 errors for the Knights. The Knights went on to hit .387 in the fourth set compared to .273 for the Wildcats. And then in the fifth set, Iwu 15-12 in the fifth set. And in that fifth set, both teams were pretty even in terms of errors. Just 3 errors for the Wildcats, 4 for the Knights. The Knights hit just .074, and the Wildcats hit .226 in the fifth set. So obviously, the box score kind of tells it all, and just to see just how really competitive this game was. Absolutely amazing. And looking at some of the stats for the Knights, and now for the Knights, they had nobody in double figures with kills, actually I stand corrected. I was looking at the wrong thing, so I apologize. 2 Marian Knights were in double digits with kills. One of them, number 20, Chloe Cook, with 14 kills and 7 digs. The other one was Corey Dryden with 17 kills and 12 digs. Emma Lyons had 25 digs for the Knights. Lexa Zimmerman with 11 digs. Sammy Lutell with 8 digs. And Emerson Evans with 4 digs. And Sarah Bennett with 4 digs as well for the Lady Knights. Now looking at Chloe Cook, she is a outside hitter for the Knights. And really, really good player. And great to see her obviously play up to that level, and she's had some really good games this year where she's been in double figures in terms of kills. Now looking at the Wildcats in terms of kills, and this is where it just really gets just kind of crazy in terms of the stats. Marissa Mullins, 16 kills for the Knights and 4 digs. Marin Sanchez, the sophomore, 13 kills and 10 digs. So really amazing to see that. Jessica Ikes, just 4 kills, but she had 2 digs. And Autumn Kohlauer with 3 digs. And Day Yessie Lewis with 8 digs, and yeah, just 8 digs for her. And then looking at the other stats, Kamaya Murray, 13 digs for the Wildcats. Abigail Porter, the senior setter, 1 kill, 15 digs for her. And Porter had 55 assists last night, which is absolutely amazing. That actually ties her career, or not career high, but ties her senior, I apologize, ties her season high, I should say. So I got a little bit of a tongue twister there, so I apologize. Tied her season high in assists last night with 55 and 15 digs, and Katie Nodder with 24 digs last night. So the Wildcats were just firing on all cylinders last night. Some other players, 2 kills for Avery Caskey, 4 kills for JC Folkers. And then, those were the stats. Now, the biggest stat, and I saved the best for last, the biggest one, Ava Geroldsma, 25 kills last night for the senior and 9 digs. So really, really amazing to see that out of the senior from Hudsonville, Michigan. And that was your matchup there. And looking ahead at some games this weekend, we have all the games beginning at 1 p.m. on Saturday. St. Francis will be traveling up to Mishawaka to play the Bethel Pilots. And this will be a really, really good game, and I have plans of being there just to see just how competitive this game will be. Number 23, Spring Arbor at number 16, Mount Vernon Nazarene, also at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Grace will be at Huntington, so the Lancers and the Foresters facing off in Platt Arena. And then the other big game that I will be paying close attention to will be number 23, Taylor, number 22, Taylor's 21, I believe. I know Taylor's right around that number 20 spot along with Marion, and number 7, Iwu being at home. That game will be at 1 o'clock. And then in terms of the other conference game on Saturday, the Goshen College Maple Leafs will be at the Lady Knights of Marion. That will be a 5 p.m. tip, 5 p.m. serve, I stand corrected, on Saturday. So obviously for the Wildcats, this is just really, really amazing for them. 7-0 now in conference, 11-3 overall. Now for the Wildcats, this was their first 5-set win this year after coming up short in a 5-set thriller against Bellevue out of Nebraska, then number 2 in the country, back at the start of the season in late August. And then the Wildcats also played a 5-set thriller, but came out on the losing end against number 16 Viterbo out of Wisconsin. And then of course I alluded to, they lost then to number 2 Bellevue out of Nebraska, also in 5 sets. So this was the first 5-set game that the Lady Wildcats have played this year with Ava Geroldsma, their best player, in the starting lineup. So obviously that was huge for head coach Candace Moats and the team. And then real quick, looking at the updated standings heading into the games on Saturday, the Wildcats right now the number 1 seed, which they were the preseason favorites to be the number 1 seed. They are 7-0 in conference, 11-3 overall. They're on an 8-game winning streak. Now, real quick before I go through the rest of the standings, I do want to add that for the Wildcats, they are looking to run the table the rest of the season, which is what they did last year after suffering a loss, which was also to Concordia out of Nebraska. And last year, that was the last loss the Wildcats had until they lost, kind of deja vu, before they lost to this year, which was also Concordia out of Nebraska. So it was roughly 1 year, literally 1 year, since the Wildcats had lost a game also to the Bulldogs of Concordia, which was their only loss last year and one of their losses. And then this year when they lost to them, that was their first loss since losing to that same team last year. And then, of course, the last loss this year for the Wildcats was Viterbo. And now, take that with a grain of salt, because all of the games at the very beginning of the year were all without Ava Geroldsma, their best player. She was out due to an injury, but has been able to come back in conference play. And I believe her first game back came against the Bethel University Lady Pilots last weekend. So obviously that's huge to get her back fully healthy, and she is just playing like the Ava Geroldsma that we saw last year and the year before that. In the last 2 years, of course, she was the Crossroads League Female Athlete of the Year last year, has been named NAIA All-American, and a ton of other awards. So very, very well deserved for her. And of course, I'm really looking forward to seeing her and the team play here in Mount Vernon next month, toward the end of next month, actually, on a Wednesday night. That should be a really, really good game, because when those two teams met in Lucky Arena last week, it was a 3-0 sweep for the Wildcats, albeit pretty close all three sets. So if that's any indication for this year, or for not this year, but if that's any indication for next month's meeting here in Mount Vernon, that should be just as good. Maybe it'll be a 5-set thriller. Who knows? That would obviously be pretty cool, right? And then, of course, looking at the rest of the standings, Mount Vernon Nazarene still that number 2 seed at 5-2, 13-5 overall. The Cougars winning last night out at Grace in a 3-set sweep, which was the first time in, I think, maybe 2 or 3 years since the Lady Cougars have swept the Lady Lancers. So that was a big win for Mount Vernon last night, even though the third set, they definitely struggled in terms of attack errors. So hopefully they'll be able to regroup and play 3 competitive sets on, or maybe more, depending on how the game goes on Saturday. But obviously something that head coach Kendra Mosier will definitely want to improve on. And then the Taylor Trojans 5-2 with their 3-0 sweep last night against St. Francis. The Trojans, that number 3 seed, also at 5-2, 14-5 overall, though MVNU holding that head-to-head tiebreaker over the Lady Trojans. The Huntington Foresters, the 4 seed right now at 4-3, 14-4 overall. Bethel with their upset win last night against number 23 Spring Arbor. Bethel, the 5 seed at 4-3, also in conference. They are 12-8 overall. And for the Bethel Lady Pilots, they are tied with Huntington for that number 4 spot, and the last team to get to host a home playoff game. So obviously that's very huge. And of course Huntington, though, holding that head-to-head tiebreaker over the Pilots, since the Lady Foresters beat the Pilots in 5 sets at Huntington earlier this season. Those two teams obviously still have to play each other a second time. Then the Grace College Lancers, the 6 seed right now at 3-4, 10-9 overall, and Spring Arbor also tied with Grace at 3-4, 15-4 overall for Spring Arbor. They are that number 7 seed, and the Lady Knights of Marion in that number 8 spot right now. The last team that would be in the playoffs, 3-4 in conference, 11-5 overall, and for Marion, they lost to Spring Arbor in that huge upset earlier. Actually, the first conference game of the year, 3-1. And obviously for the Lady Knights, of course, you know, them and Grace. I think them and Grace. No, they played Grace the last conference game of the first half of conference play. The Knights go to Grace on October 1st, next Wednesday, and then they host Grace to round out the regular season in Indianapolis, November 5th. So those two teams have yet to play each other, so you can't really say right now where Marion exactly should be in the standings, even though I guess you could argue that they should be in that number 6 spot, or in that number 7 spot. Spring Arbor should be in that number 6 spot. And looking at Spring Arbor, they lost to Grace 3-2 in a big upset on Saturday, September 13th. So actually, I forgot about that. So the Lancers of Grace holding the head-to-head tiebreaker over Spring Arbor. And, of course, Grace and Marion haven't played each other yet. Spring Arbor, though, holding the head-to-head tiebreaker over Marion because of the upset win in Indianapolis in back-to-back seasons, I should add. So that is why Grace is the 6 right now, Spring Arbor the 7, and Marion the 8, because of those head-to-head tiebreakers. And then Goshen 1-6 in conference, 5-12 overall, and St. Francis 4-15 overall, 0-7 in Crossroads League play. And that is an updated view at the Crossroads League standings. So if you did enjoy this video, please either like, comment, or subscribe. Any one of those options helps me out greatly. I truly appreciate any feedback that you provide me. Thanks so much for watching this video. And if you would like me to do any future volleyball episodes, please let me know in the comments down below if you would like me to do that. And again, any feedback that you provide me, I truly, truly appreciate. So thanks so much for tuning in to this video this afternoon. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend as well. And God bless.